Welcome to Voices of Global Freedom Radio. We are broadcasting from San Diego, California, August the 22nd, 2015. This is Backpack, helping carry your load, and our co-host Yoda, bringing the force to patriots. We bring our patriotic conservative audience news you can use and actionable tactics, methods, and strategies to survive and thrive in these dangerous, troubled times. Confidential tips and information, call 619-354-3665, 619-354-3665. We are reaching the United States and internationally 724. We are proud to be syndicated with the popular radio networks K98 Talk, Leading Edge Radio, Reach Out America Radio, and several other AM/FM syndicates. Yoda, how are you?
I am great, partner. Our files grow and grow with compliments. Your syndication effort is superb. We are out there around the world now. I got an email this week from Kenya. We are on a roll. What a show today, fine audience. Thanks for being with us today. Our double-barrel lineup includes the toughest sheriff in America, the famous, wonderful Sheriff Joe Arpaio, Maricopa County, covers Phoenix, Arizona. What a guy. A lot to learn from this guy today, who is under enormous pressure from the Obama administration. They don't like what he's doing. He's covering his beat out there. In addition, we have the Lieutenant Randy Sutton, Las Vegas PD, retired backpack. What's he up to?
Our good friend, Lieutenant Randy Sutton, he is the national spokesperson for defendingtheshield.org. I say again, defendingtheshield.org. And he has been on our favorite TV series, Cops, numerous times. He's actually been promoted to become one of the anchors on one news network here locally in San Diego. And so it's a huge honor for him to be on with this conservative patriotic network.
And what a guy. He was on duty. He was shot at 5 times. Obviously, he survived. He is indeed defending the shield from the Obama assault on police. Also, double barrel, we have a brief episode tonight. Everybody's aware that doesn't live on Mars or somewhere of the stock shakeup last week. Maybe the boom has gone to a bust. So we have on the financial advisor to us, because we can't stand a lot of that. We've got the Bubba Horowitz on in a little while. Also, we've arranged, audience, that we can speak with him this week after we see what breaks in the stock markets on Monday. So what a show. First segment is the good, toughest sheriff in America. Then Bubba Horowitz, our financial guy on the current crisis, if it is a crisis. And finally, our fun friend, Lieutenant Randy Sutton. We are good to go. Do you have a brief bio on the good sheriff?
President Obama and his Department of Justice have been besieging our good friend, Sheriff Joe Arpaio. He's still in the saddle protecting the good citizens of Maricopa County, Arizona, after 22 years. After serving in the United States Army Military Police in France, Arpaio was a D.C. cop and Vegas cop. His DEA career throughout the U.S., Turkey, and Mexico broke up the drug smuggling French connection. Arpaio will win his 7th term of office with a landslide, said Jan Rama, editor-in-chief, MagnifiedView.com. He is the most effective sheriff in the county, in the country, with the 4th largest sheriff department, over 4,000 employees.
Wow.
Huge. So he's fighting the good fight for all of us, and I'd definitely like to see the way he runs things in every prison across the land, because he really knows when you go to his tent city prison, you're not going to, it's going to be a really bad time, and that's what prison's supposed to be like.
You are spot on. It's going to be we pre-recorded this show. His revelations are shocking. He locks them up, has to turn them loose at some point, and ICE and the feds let him go run around again. So anyway, dying to hear from our good new friend, Sheriff Arpaio.
Welcome to Voices of Global Freedom, exclusive interview with Sheriff Joe Arpaio from Maricopa County, Phoenix, Arizona.
Welcome, Sheriff Arpaio, the country's toughest sheriff. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you.
We've got a lot of questions for you. We pre-promote these shows through my partner Backpack here. So, among other questions we've had, what do you got there, Backpack?
What is the current kidnap situation in Maricopa County?
Well, it sort of died down. I know that the story was several years ago that Phoenix was a kidnapping city in the world next to Mexico City. But I think that's a misnomer because they were, every time we have a drop house where you have the illegals confined by the coyote, they call that a kidnapping. So we don't have too many of those anymore. And then the kidnapping has really gone down. So that's not our big problem because the illegal immigration situation has somewhat subsided or not being enforced, let's put it that way.
I met with a Phoenix lieutenant, a female, with the kidnap unit. We were boggled. She had invented a new language for it back when. What's happening with immigration up to the minute, good sheriff?
Well, I've been investigated since 2007 by the Department of Justice for alleged racial profiling. That's pretty close to being settled. I do have another case before a federal judge, which I'm not going to talk about it. I don't think it's appropriate right now. But there's been a lot of restrictions by federal judges. I just lost the appellate court decision where I sued the President of the United States. Ruled against me, but we're taking that up to the Supreme Court. So there's a lot of legal ramifications involving this illegal immigration problem that we're facing.
I'll bet there is, sir. We're in contact with one of your attorneys, Larry Clayman, on another matter. Extortion 17 was the downing of the helicopter.
I just tested something that's cool.
And we worked with one of the fathers of the SEAL team member who was killed in that incident.
Treat you differently then.
Well, good luck with that nonsense.
See how it does it.
Well, Larry is handling the lawsuit for me against the president. And as I say, the appellate court came down against us, and now we're taking it up to the Supreme Court. It has to do with the president's executive order. And also the statistics that I have that no one seems to want to elaborate on. And I'll just say it briefly. In the last 18 months, I did surveys in those of my jail. And 5,000 were turned over to ICE to be deported. And about 40% keep coming back to the jail. So that means that they keep coming back. Why are they not being deported? Or if they are, why do they keep coming back 20 times? So that's very significant when everybody's talking about 131 violent criminals had released on the street. What about all the statistics I have? Over 5,000 turnover and over 2,000 keep coming back to the jails that I run, some for violent crime. So I think that's very, very important to let the public know.
Well, we appreciate your letting the public know through us. We work with local departments here. We work with ICE and the FBI. And we've had a similar experience to yours. Working with the Border Patrol Sheriff, as you would know better than we do, it's a revolving door down there. Where do you see the trend, the destiny any of that damn border, sir?
Well, I was a regional director in Mexico City and Texas and Arizona. That's a top federal official, drug enforcement. And plus, 24 years as sheriff. We're only 30 miles from the border. So, I've had 35 years experience out of my 55 years working that border on both sides. It's very complex. I was with Donald Trump, introduced him when he was in Phoenix. One thing I will say about him, at least he opened the door again about illegal immigration, because most of the political people want to forget it, especially running for president. So he opened that door, and now everybody's talking once again about that important issue, illegal immigration. Something has to be done about it. Every election, people talk about it, and nothing's ever done. So maybe this time around, something will be done.
I sure would hope so. We work closely at the border, and it's a joke, as you know, but it's not funny. What would you do, good sheriff, if you had the authority and the resources about the border? How would you get it shut down?
Well, G. Gordon Liddy, I don't know if you remember him, but Watergate, and then he had his own show. He and I ran an operation under President Nixon in 1969 called Intercept, where the president was very angry at Mexico because of the drugs coming across, and we just about closed that border for 2 weeks, and I think we got one marijuana cigarette. But the president threatened Mexico, they'd take away foreign aid and that type of thing. Now, if I had any authority, especially if I was president, I'd spend a little more time in Mexico talking with the Mexican president and get back operational, because when I was there, my agents were operational. They were on the streets. I used to deal with the military, just like we had full authority, which we did not, but still we had the guns that worked undercover, and I can go on and on. And the government of Mexico approved that. So we had to get back operational. I would send the Border Patrol or the military across the border to work with the Mexican military federales together, not invade Mexico, and get back operational. So working together across the border, wonders can be done. And I think we proved that when I was over there with the French connection and many big international cases. So that's one way to solve the problem, by going across the border. Don't let the drugs come into our country or illegal aliens. Get it before they reach the border on that side. So that's how you solve the problem. But I don't see much emphasis in Mexico with cooperative efforts other than talk and giving them some equipment and some money. And I don't see the president going there often. I think maybe he's been there 3 times in 7 years. That's not how you do it. Or where's the Secretary of State? How many times has the Secretary of State been over there? That's very important, because they deal with the ambassadors. But I don't see that. So I don't see a big push with the U.S. government officials going into Mexico and relating and trying to get that country to do what is necessary.
We're going to excerpt that. We're going to publish it in our million-subscribed magazine, themagnifiedview.com. I had lunch with G. Gordon Liddy in Chicago a long time ago. And he mentioned you way back then, an old partner of mine, and had lunch with him. In addition, we have an FBI friend who operated out of Guadalajara. And he was there near your time. He wasn't a legat. I forget what he was, but he knew you. But small world, Sheriff.
Yeah, I had offices in Panama, Argentina. I worked with Noriega, if you remember him.
Yeah.
But, when you deal with intelligence and law enforcement, I had 2 agents in Panama, so we always suspected that the general was playing both sides. But you still have to be there to get things done and know how to work around corruption. But we do have corruption, I think, in the United States, too. So you can't always blame these foreign countries. office in the United States. We're not a little small sheriff's office. But I'm having some interference by the Mexican government, by the U.S. government. So I want to get over there. Everybody says it's dangerous for you to go with all the cartels. I'm not worried about it. I talked to Trump, and I'm going to see if I can get him to go deep in the heart of Mexico. At least I get a free airline ticket, and see if we can talk to the authorities there.
Or you'll be in his helicopter.
He and I going over there.
Right. You'll be in his helicopter for short hops. Sure wish I could go with you. In my opinion, Sheriff, you have more supporters and fans than even you might know. We're active around the country in the intel community and elsewhere. And everywhere we've been, and with high echelon people we talk to every day, you've really got a lot of support.
Well, I'm running my seventh time. They tried to get me last time. They're really going to put the push on this time to get rid of me. On the probably the only guy left with this illegal immigration situation. But I'm not going to surrender. I've been sheriff going on 24 years. Started when I was 60. And I'm going for the seventh term and expect to get reelected. And I got a lot of battles before me, but I'm not going to surrender.
I'm a 78-year-old whippersnapper compared to you. And I want to assure you with our radio program that you're on now, Voices of Global Freedom, and our Big Deal magazine, MagnifiedView.com, we are, sir, all in for you.
Well, I appreciate that, but let me say one thing. When you talk about the Border Patrol, ICE, the agents on the street are great, but their hands are tied from the bureaucrats in Washington. You know that. I know that. So you can't blame the guys on the street. They're just trying to do their job, and they're frustrated, too. Now you have a war on cops. You know, every time a cop does something, is on national news, and everybody seems to be zeroed in, killing cops and everything. So we're running. It's very difficult that when you and I were there years ago, now you have to have cameras, mace. I have a blackjack and nightstick and a Smith and Wesson. That's all I needed.
Thank you.
Not today.
A 6-round M&P with a 4-inch barrel.
That's what I have.
If you will, sir, we're going to refer you to a friend of ours. He's retired Vegas lieutenant. Back.
Police are certainly under the Obama gun. We know you are a Las Vegas officer. Our good friend, Lieutenant Randy Sutton, Las Vegas retired, is spokesman of DefendingTheShield.org. We are all in working with him. Depolicing.
Depolicing, I think, Sheriff, is a term that he coined. It means that you're no longer proactive as you and I used to be.
Yeah, isn't that sad? It means that why take a chance if you're every time you do something, you might end up in jail yourself. The way things are occurring in Washington on the Civil Rights Division. But that's sad because you have to be proactive. I was my whole 55 years. Very aggressive. That's how you do it. You don't have to wait for crime to come to you. So it's sad what's going on. It really is. But, it all goes around in circles. And, this is the greatest country in the world. And we'll be okay. But we need new blood administration coming up. And let's see what happens.
Oh, we desperately need new blood. I've never seen it as absurd as it is now. I was with a counter-terrorist training unit, Sheriff, after the Munich Olympic massacre. We visited 110 countries, sir, in 11 years. And I've seen all this as you have overseas. I can't imagine the conditions we're confronted with here now. It's right below the surface. We work with an outstanding agency here, a medium-sized city. They're aggressive, they're high morale, and right below the surface now, they're afraid to be proactive. They're also responding with 2 and 3 man units, whereas previously it was one guy. New times. Where do you see it all headed, Sheriff?
Well, I started in 1954. And boy, and you did too. You see tremendous changes. I guess we got to go along with these changes. I don't know if we can ever go back, but we have to do something and not continue the road we're on right now. So I have confidence. I have faith in our government. So let's hope that change will bring different policies. And get the job done and put the bad guys in jail and make sure the people obey the law no matter where they're from. If they're from a foreign country, they should not come into our country illegally. And we can talk about the fences and all that, but just quite frankly, you can build a fence, but they're still coming in. They got ways to smuggle, but still that's a move forward. But one thing I get very amused about, because all the politicians, we must secure the border first. Remember the word first.
Right.
And we will enforce the illegal immigration laws in the United States. That's a cop-out, because you and I know you're never going to secure that border 100%. So you got to hit the problem in the foreign country, on the border, and in the interior, and enforce these laws. And that's not being done with this administration.
Oh, it's worse. We're fortunate, Sheriff. We have on people near your league, Lieutenant General Flynn, Major General Vallely, a girl Lopez, 22 years with the agency, other real high-level echelon, and we've got insiders. We get the real word like you're telling us about. I'm at the end of the day optimistic. We've got 800,000 plus coppers. We've got 23 million odd vets and their families, got firefighters. In my opinion, sir, if it gets bad enough, which I think it may, the good guys will stand up as we always have.
Yeah, because, you don't make any money in government. They do it for the country, especially, you never forget the veterans, what they've done, and the first responders and the feds. I can go on and on. But, you know this. It starts from the president. President sets the tempo, and then the bureaucracy falls in. So if you get the right president, get the right direction, get someone who's tough, and straighten this thing out, it'll be done. And I still have confidence that being the great country we are, we'll survive. But it won't be the same in law enforcement. I don't think it can ever go back. Not with the high-tech equipment they have now. I got a flip-flop phone. I got a Smith Corona typewriter. Slave to emails, computers. I'm not a slave to those. But see, everybody else is. Kids can get anything on their iPad, porno and everything else. What are we coming to?
My grandson was 6 when he was printing out Thomas Train coloring books on the computer. Our man backpack here, fortunately, is a computer genius. He left what he called his cubicle. He hit the road 4 years. And he does wonders for us on the social media. I can screw up a cannonball and a flashlight myself. That's my generation. Backpack, you had a Maricopa County question.
What is the hit and run leaving the scene of traffic collisions in Maricopa County?
I don't have the stats, but it's somewhat prevalent, if you put it that way. Driving under the influence, killing people on the highways and byways. I spent my whole life fighting the drug traffic, so I'm going to make a big push to go after the street dealers, because, in law enforcement, everybody wants that big case on television, tons of drugs, and nobody's really on the
Turkey. I was knocking around Turkey about when you were. I was in Istanbul and driving around the country then.
Well, I was there in 1960, in the early 60s. I was in charge of myself. I was only agent there, working up in the boondocks undercover. Next day, meeting the prime minister. So I spent 4 years catching dope peddlers.
My word, it was dangerous when I was there. The English language newspaper Below the Fold had a box of murders, kidnapping, and like that. I think I'm terrible on time. I was there in the 70s. A son of mine was an air policeman there, and he was transporting captors to Gitmo from Turkey. It was interesting. You were there in a hell of a time.
Yeah, that was the early 60s, but then in the 70s I was in Mexico and South America as a director there for that whole area. And we had a lot of action there on the drugs and other matters too. But you know what? We survived, did a good job, but things have changed being in law enforcement today, from the B cop all the way up.
Oh, they have.
Changed.
Yeah, they have. But as you said, sir, technology, the attitude today, from people we talk to around the country, it's prevalent that de-policing has a lot of meaning now.
Yeah, I like that word. I mean, it's not a nice word, but I know what you're getting at. I haven't heard that before. But what you're trying to say, if I look at that word, is de-policing means don't be aggressive. Just go do your job. Go home safe at night, and they'll take that extra chance. Is that what you're talking about?
Affirmative. Yeah, you get in the unit, turn on the air conditioning, some music, do a couple traffic stops, go sit in the high, do a lot of paperwork.
Yeah, computers in the car. You got an hour's right in the Mickey Mouse report.
Well, the feds have moved into Cleveland elsewhere, and now they're requiring a report if you draw a pistol. Hell, we ran around with one in our hand in the ghettos, in the projects, literally.
Well, there's one thing that saves me, and I was a bureaucrat for 50 years, or Army and police, federal. Always had a boss. Isn't it great now to have 4 million bosses in my county? Don't have to report to anybody except to them.
Yeah.
And there's always a movement to get rid of the constitutional elected sheriff too. But when they go after me, they're forgetting one thing: I'm elected.
Yeah.
So
God bless
report to the
people. Yeah, you don't have to put up with that city stuff. You don't have to put up with
sometimes, but that's okay.
You don't have to put up with the mayors.
No, I don't put up with mayor, governors, presidents. I do my thing, and sometimes, like I say, it gets me in trouble. But I've been around a long time, so I know, how to get it done. But it's frustrating when sometimes the courts go after you.
Oh, I bet it is. Well,
it is.
To do over, I'd have been working for you. Where were you in France?
I was in Verdun and Metz.
Okay. I was with a battalion out of Mannheim. We policed Heidelberg, Karlsruhe, Mannheim, and Orleans, France. We had a company in Orleans.
I was a sergeant, and then I was a CID for warrant officer in the reserves for about 10 years. But I had to give that up because I'm in the hills of Turkey. You can't attend any meetings unless it was the Air Force, TUSLOG or whatever.
I figured it for CID, but I couldn't figure out the medical detachment thing.
Well, you know what? I joined the Army the day the Korean War broke out. I turned 18, graduated from high school, did it all within a week. Did my 9th Infantry Division training at Fort Dix.
MP school?
No,
I did.
no, but that was a great school there in those days.
Yeah, I did Knox in basic, then Gordon, then I did a shift to Bremerhaven, and I was assigned to the 382nd Katamana. Great days.
But isn't it great those days?
Oh, my word.
Back memories.
I was stuck in the back of a German municipal police car in a little Opel. I had all the gear on. There was a huge light in the back seat of this little thing that was messing with my gear all the time. I'd do most of it over the same way, Sheriff. Well, I regret that I didn't work for you. My son did. He was on your
Search and rescue?
mountain desert.
Yeah, search and rescue.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's fine. Thank you. He did it voluntary. He had to buy all his own equipment, cost no money. And see, that's volunteerism at its best. And I have about 2,000 volunteer posse, 500 armed. And they get their authority from me, so that's a great resource.
How many posses do you have, Sheriff?
I have about 52 different posses, helicopters, computer, you name it, mounted search and rescue, you name it, we have it.
About 10 years ago, I almost came knocking on your door. I was working here in counterterrorism, but I heard about your posses. I was 68 then, but I could get around all right. So I almost came knocking on your door over there.
Compared to me, you're young, so
I know.
15 hours a day. So I'm out there 7 days a week. And,
what am I going to learn in the next 5 years? I'm sincere in that, or I wouldn't ask you.
But about me?
No. What am I going to learn generally? I'm 78.
Oh.
What have you learned in the past 5 years besides the feds are screwing with you?
Well, what I learned is being the sheriff is just do the job, work hard, take the extra step, don't surrender, serve the people, and learn a little about politics. And that's the way it is. I have almost 4,000 employees. It's not a small agency. So, but we take a lot of heat because of controversy. And how are you going to get in trouble if you don't do anything? You know that.
Thank you. A friend of mine, an agent with a major letter agency, you'd loved him. He said of his criticisms on a scale met up with his commendations, it was all right. Risk taker, one of the guys like you. I got a kick out of that. We were peripherally involved with your district attorney there.
Which one? County attorney, they call it.
Trying to remember. He was thrown out. He ran for governor.
Recently or far? A long time ago?
A few years ago.
Rick Romley?
No, another one.
Yeah.
Anyway, he ran for governor. He didn't make it.
Yeah.
He was apparently stiffed by the board, the bar. Anyway.
You talking about Thomas?
Yeah.
Andrew Thomas?
Yeah.
Yeah, he and I did some corruption work together. And we took a lot of heat on that. And,
yeah, we met his gal, Rachel. She worked.
Oh, yeah, Rachel. Yeah, she does a lot of writing.
Yeah. We've had her on. She became a virtual friend. Small world, isn't it?
Yeah, she's a nice lady. She got stuff, too.
She sure did.
But we're all surviving.
Yeah, we do. We do.
Well, listen, I got to run.
Sheriff, I'm going to contact you off air, if I may, where we'll get Lieutenant Randy Sutton out of Vegas to send you one of his books. You and he serve the same cloth, defending the shield with his damn de-policing.
Right.
And if you will, I want to hook you up with my son, entrepreneur in Scottsdale.
Okay. Haven't called me or my son.
I will, sir. We'll have him call. We'll have him walk in there.
Or anytime he's in, does he live here?
Yes, sir, Scott.
We'll have him come up to visit our new headquarters.
All right, sir. Meanwhile,
let me give you my number.
If you will, sir. You want?
I think he's just out of my secretary.
I did. Nice gal.
Yeah, Amy. So just have her call him, and I would love to have him come up and visit.
Wonderful, sir. Meanwhile, we are all in with you. I don't flatter, and here's what we're going to do. With aid of Backpack here, who does stunning things on social media, we have a couple 100,000 newsletter we put out of Florida. You'll be on that.
Don't connect.
You're going to be featured below the masthead of the magnified view.
Okay.
This program will be out to, we don't know how many. It's syndicated, but please don't hesitate a heartbeat contacting us personally if we can do anything little or big, and I mean that. Sir?
Well, when you get some time, call Amy and see if you want to be put on our press release.
Sure do.
So we can, you keep abreast of what we're doing.
Sure do. And please, you know, we're not big deals, but we reach a lot of people.
Well, it's like you that keeps the politicians straight, and the talk show has done wonders for this country where you can speak out.
Well, it's our pleasure, sir. Thank you kindly once more for your time and wisdom today, sir.
And have your son get in touch, okay?
I will, sir. Be safe out there.
Be safe. Thanks for all your hard work and dedicated service around the world.
Thank you, military police officer. Have a good, what a world. Have a good one, sir.
Thank you, sir. Be safe.
Thank you. Bye.
Please give this video. Wow, what a great interview that was.
Oh, my word, what a guy. He's out of that old school, my word, nostalgia for me. Those are the guys that I worked with back then. It was really simple. Three kind of people. Most people were kind of indifferent to you. The good guys really liked you and took you in, and the bad guys feared you. It all worked then, back.
Yeah, it really does. And we want to say hello to Southern Sense Talk Radio, the radio chick Annie. She's in our chat room. Thanks for joining us, and it's always good to hear from you. And welcome to Voices of Global Freedom, magnifiedview.com.
There she is with blue in her veins. For the audience benefit that doesn't know her, she's got a great program, Southern Sense. In addition, she was a copper in New York City. Back then, they had no compromise for getting through a tough academy, so our hats off to our good friend there. Thanks for being in the chat room, gal.
Please go check out southern-sense.com. I say again, southern-sense.com. And also, Annie joins us with toptalkradio.com. We're on the board of directors there, and we helped get her a face profile up there. We're amongst Sean Hannity, Rush Limbaugh, and all the household names in conservative radio. Toptalkradio.com. You'll see Yoda and Backpack's picture up there, along with Annie, the radio chick, who's frequently on Voice of Global Freedom, and we appreciate her appearances. And we've been on her show, so it's a great cross collaboration we got going on with her.
Also, audience, Backpack was pressed at the National Association of Broadcasters meeting in Las Vegas. Really a big deal trade show, and he was talking with some senior high echelon broadcasters, and it sprouted out an award program for people on the internet. Backpack here, I've got him blushing now, was instrumental in founding that. Basically, authorities from around the country in the industry take nominations for awards. Then there's a virtual vote around the country for who gets an award, and Annie and her Southern Sense program got one of the high awards. Good on her, Backpack. Good on you for stirring that up.
Yeah, the website is called webcasterawards.com. I say again, webcasterawards.com, and it's award-winning shows and guests and books and all around the web. So it's a great website to go check out, and you can see all the people that have done really well, including MagnifyView.com is on there as one of the best blogs, and our friend Todd Bubba Horowitz, who will be playing a clip of him. We do have a tribute to policemen and policewomen by the immortal, one of the greatest of all times conservative talk radio show hosts, Paul Harvey, who is resting in peace right now. He passed away some years ago, but wonderful guy. And he wrote tributes for all our brave men and women in uniform, from first responders to firemen to the military. So we're going to play a 2-minute clip and tribute to all of our police women and policemen.
Policemen. A policeman is a composite of what all men are, I guess, a mingling of saint and sinner, dust and deity. What that really means is that they are exceptional, they are unusual, they are not commonplace. Buried under the froth is the fact, and the fact is that less than 0.5% of policemen misfit that uniform, and that is a better average than you'd find among clergymen. What is a policeman? He of all men is at once the most needed and the most wanted, a strangely nameless creature who is sir to his face and pig or worse behind his back. He must be such a diplomat that he can settle differences between individuals so that each will think he won. But if a policeman is neat, he's conceited. If he's careless, he's a bum. If he's pleasant, he's a flirt. If he's not, he's a grouch. He must make instant decisions, which would require months for a lawyer. But if he hurries, he's careless. If he's deliberate, he's lazy. He must be first to an accident, infallible with a diagnosis. He must be able to start breathing, stop bleeding, tie splints, and above all, be sure the victim goes home without a limp. The police officer must know every gun, draw on the run, and hit where it doesn't hurt. He must be able to whip 2 men twice his size and half his age without damaging his uniform and without being brutal. If you hit him, he's a coward. If he hits you, he's a bully. The policeman from a single human hair must be able to describe the crime, the weapon, the criminal, and tell you where the criminal is hiding. But if he catches the criminal, he's lucky. If he doesn't, he's a dunce. He runs files and writes reports until his eyes ache to build a case against some felon who will get dealed out by a shameless Seamus. The policeman must be a minister, a social worker, a diplomat, a tough guy, and a gentleman. And of course, he'll have to be a genius because he'll have to feed a family on a policeman's salary.
What a great tribute. Rest in peace, Paul Harvey. I really just love all of his work that he did over the years being on radio, and he's done so much for his legacy lives on.
We got to do a firefighter tribute down the line here a little bit, don't we?
Yeah, we have another one that's excellent. Paul Harvey did so many great tributes, and he really was one of the all-time greatest without a doubt.
Chicago guy.
Yeah.
I personally remember this is Paul Harvey. Good day.
Yeah, he's just a champion. So there's so many in archives. So he lives on through all his different things that he's done over the years. So we're also proud and honored to have our good friend Lieutenant Randy Sutton coming on next. We have a show with him, and he's been on at least 4 or 5 times on Voices of Global Freedom. We always have him on to keep us up to date with what's going on, and he's going to be talking about the Black Lives Matter or whatever matter movement that's going on, and really telling the truth of what it's all about and how it's being sponsored by George Soros and President Obama. And this is a great segue into that. We also have a short clip of our friend Todd Bubba Horowitz to talk about the markets that fell a lot last week. To talk about that.
Do we ever? Yeah. Todd is Bubba is our single financial advisor. We're not a financial type show, but he's the guy we depend on, and he's the right guy. He's based in Chicago. Has a website, of course, and he's all things financial. Has his own radio program. With the big flap last week, with the Dow down 530, there's all excitement over the weekend that the stock boom may be a bust. So we've recorded a segment with our dear man, Bubba. He's traveling around this week. We're going to access him after we see what occurs on Monday with the market, and we'll have full programming on the latest word on his valued opinion on what's going on in that world, Backpack.
Yeah, you can also hear more of this interview with Todd that we had earlier today on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/user/Global Freedom Network. Please go check out and subscribe to that growing channel. It's got a lot of really great interviews that we don't always have a chance to get on our show. We've been having incredible guests on, such as we just had Sheriff Joe Arpaio, Major General Paul Evilele, Claire Lopez, 22 years, CIA veteran and Vice President of Centers for Security Policy. And we're going to be having on Lieutenant General Michael T. Flynn, who worked with the DIA in military, and what an incredible interview that's going to be, among many others.
We've got it happening, no question. The audience has figured out, and we're not professional radio guys. We're, excuse me, a couple guys with diverse backgrounds that find ourselves on radio. But, excuse me, we have a top lineup of guests now and coming on. Incredible, Backpack.
Well, we're going to now go ahead and play our friend Todd Bubba Horowitz, frequently on Fox News, and he's been on a lot of TV radio shows recently and through the years. So we're going to play a short segment of that. Here we go.
What they've done. And unless they're willing to admit that they made a mistake and say, you know what, we're going to go ahead and raise interest rates here, even though we're not supposed to, you won't see anything better. And we're going to see continuing pressure on the commodity markets, which everybody says, oh, that's great, I get to pay cheaper. It's not true. When the flow of money and the velocity of money is not flowing throughout, that always indicates a much bigger problem. Because the best world is a world that everybody makes money. And when producers aren't making money because they can't make enough on their production, it means the retailers aren't making money because they don't have enough people to buy it. It means that the flow of money, the velocity of money is not flowing through, which is exactly what we're seeing in this market, which is why it's an easy call to say that the market will melt down. But again, you cannot time it to a certainty. The only thing you can do, and the thing that I recommend that every investor do, is learn the ability to hedge their equities so that they don't have to worry about the next collapse. Because Yoda and Backpack, I can guarantee it will happen, and not because of what they're doing now, but because history tells us that if you go back to Tulipmania in the 1600s, if you go back to the South Sea Bubble in the 1700s, and by the way, Sir Isaac Newton lost all of his money then and became a pauper after the South Sea Bubble, a very rich man in the day. You will see that it happens continually, all the way through. And most recently, obviously, 2008, 2001, 1999, 1989, 1987, 1929, plus a bunch in between. So the best thing that our people can do is figure out and learn how to hedge for virtually very little money. And actually, you can get that money back by earning it through the markets. It's very simple. It's a good, simple process that if you're not doing it, you're making one of the bigger mistakes you're ever making in your life.
Tell our audience, your audience, how to reach you, please.
You can reach me at Bubba@thebubbashow.org via email. You can go to the website, thebubbashow.org, or BubbaTrading.com. And you can always reach me by phone at 847-722-7800.
Say it again, please, Bob.
847-722-7800 is the phone. Bubba@thebubbashow.org is the email, and thebubbashow.org is the website. But if that's too hard to type out, which a lot of times I switch to BubbaTrading.com because they go to the same place. So BubbaTrading.com, that'll get you where you want to go.
Have you seen a situation past 20 years or so quite similar to this situation?
Well, yeah, I mean, 2008 was exactly, except it was housing instead of student loan and automobiles.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they're always the same. Everybody wants to overlook an asset bubble. Okay, but at the end of the day, an asset bubble is an asset bubble, and unfortunately, the people in charge, just like our president, do not want to admit that there's a problem. And when you refuse to admit you have a problem, you and I, we all know what happens. The problem continues to grow until the problem becomes unsolvable.
Well, go ahead, Backpack. Sorry.
Voices of Global Freedom, MagnifiedView.com. We're here with Todd Bubba Horwitz of The Bubba Show. And one question we've had is, it hasn't been that long that China and the U.S. has actually been in relations. I mean, it was Nixon in 73 that started where we started working together. Now we're seeing a lot of Chinese stocks in the U.S. exchange. How's that working and impacting now that they're plummeting? And how can that be that we allow U.S. stocks to be traded on the U.S. exchange?
Well, the Chinese stocks and a couple of the ones that everyone will recognize will be Alibaba, Baidu, the Chinese Google, and many others. They trade through what they call an ADR, American Depository Receipts, so they do get affected. But I mean, it's basically dual listing stocks so that people can trade them anywhere. That is not an issue by itself. I mean, obviously those stocks are getting hammered pretty regularly because of what's going on in China. So that becomes a problem in itself. But overall, I mean, there's stocks, that are dual listed all over the place that allow shareholders to trade the stocks back and forth. But each company only has so many shares, what they call outstanding or on float. So it doesn't really matter. It has no effect one way or the other than when their economies are collapsing, because there's stocks here that are from Russia. There are emerging markets. So there's stocks from everywhere that kind of trade everywhere. And it's just how they pay them out. So if you're trading a Chinese stock here to an American Depository Receipt, then you have to kind of go to business, but the money is guaranteed.
So what have you seen out of China? How does that affect the average Americans?
Well, I mean, obviously, the pressure that's on their economy, because they have done such a phenomenal job of manipulating what we call their hidden cities, the price of copper, and now their currency. That is a big reason why the U.S. is starting to have much more trouble, because, again, you don't have one of the biggest importers of our goods is China. They are one of the biggest consumers of a lot of our goods. And because they have no money anymore, they are running out, which is creating a bigger problem. So a big problem is our soybean producers. China is the number one soybean. Our number one exporter we export to is China. But they're not buying as much because there's not as much there. Because there's no money. Because they don't have any money. So those problems, the commodity problem is more related to China because it's melting everything down and it's becoming a much bigger issue.
Interesting. The Department of Agriculture has the FAG, the Foreign Ag Group. They have offices in Belgium and Tokyo. They're trying to promote sale of soybeans, while at the same time another Department of Agriculture group encourages importing soybeans. Is that classical double standard government or what? I mean, look, we know the issues. We know the backroom deals. We know the manipulation. We know the socialist policies in which they run. But then after that, that is part of business. I mean, some of it I have no issue with, and much of it I do. Again, there's a lot of backroom deals that kind of go on, and of course, we're funding a lot of things. But at the end of the day, the biggest problem is you got to take care of the problems at home, and that's, of course, where I think we're really dropping the ball right now, and that's where we're seeing more problems as well. I mean, we shouldn't be worried. 5 years ago, guys, everybody said, "Oh my God, the United States
It's not going to be the world currency anymore. The U.S. dollar is going away. And, of course, I said, you're nuts. And, of course, I'm right, because right now, we're the biggest economy by far, and we've actually gained strength on everybody. And in the big picture, it doesn't really matter who the reserve currency is. But right now, of course, the media likes to peddle fear. They like to create a scuttlebutt. Why? Because what do people watch? They watch fear and things that make you crazy. At the end of the day, it's not a big deal. But at the end of the day, what needs to be done is we have to put America back to work and quit worrying about everything else and quit worrying about these phony, manipulated, socialistic monetary policies in which they are creating.
Backpack has a great comment about our nation building and democracy spreading.
Yeah, the only nation building we should be doing is here in the United States. Nowhere else but here in the U.S.
Well said, Backpack.
September has typically been a bad month for trading. I've never really understood why. And the question is, we're seeing a big, it was an 880-point drop in 2 days, which is the single largest drop, if you include the 2 days in the stock market history of last Thursday and Friday. What are your predictions for September?
Well, first of all, let's not get carried away. Okay? Remember, now when I started trading, the Dow was 1,000. Okay? This is another problem in this country and with the media, is we like to create the firestorm, right? The big, oh my God, it's 500 points. Listen to me. If you were in an $18 stock and it went down 50 cents, would you panic? Of course not. $18,000 index goes down 500 points, it's the same thing. We have to look at the market in percentage basis, not in numbers. Because obviously, even if you look at baseball salaries, you look at anything around the globe, everything goes up. Why? Because the money goes up. Because the money gets cheaper, so you got to pay more. When Dr. Jerry Buzz paid Magic Johnson in 1987 $25 million, $1 million a year for 25 years, oh my God, what a contract. Now, guys get $25 million a year. It doesn't matter. This is the part that you have to remember. Everything is on a percentage base. And until this week, or last week, we had been in the tightest trading range in 115 years. Okay? Percentage-wise. Remember, the Dow started out in 1929, I think it crashed from 300. Okay? So you're talking about numbers that are illogical to the general public, but because they sound so big, you go, oh my God. But every time when Netflix was 700, every time it moved 4 or 5 points, everybody would get crazy. And the bottom line is it's 40 or 50 cents in a $70 stock. So it's not an ordeal. It's what we build it up to, which does generate the emotion and the factors that push you out in fear.
What was, go ahead, Backpack. Sorry.
Well, with all this going on, is your prediction that Obama's master plan is to make everybody be on food stamps and welfare?
Basically, it's obviously not everybody because they're very rich. They're very rich support him because they're very rich support both sides, right? They don't care. They just want to make sure that they get taken care of. So, but basically, my opinion is that Obama is trying to build the Democratic Army. Okay, and in fact, I would go as far to say that I think he's trying to manipulate the whole Hillary mess. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Hillary is trash. Okay, I think she's got no business in the White House. I mean, she's done so many dirty things over the years that have been proven. I mean, this isn't speculation that have been proven, but I think he's stepping on the gas because he wants her out of the race, and he wants to actually create a puppet regime and try to get Biden in because he thinks he can control Biden and continue his master plan. The man who will not admit in terrorism. Okay. The man who is the most antagonistic president in the history of the United States of America, the man who's got the smallest amount of private sector people in his cabinet since John F. Kennedy, and it's not even close, the man who wants to single-handedly, in my opinion, destroy this country and turn us into a socialist communist nation.
We don't have a doubt, but our current lineup, Backpack, our radio lineup includes
Sheriff Joe Arpaio, Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, and we have Major General Paul E. Vallely on frequently, as well as Lieutenant Colonel Alan B. West.
And we have Bubba on. Those are the ones we talk about and have on air. We've known them for years, many of them. I've been at this since 1974, actually. The Munich Olympic Massacre, or whatever it is. So we've got a lot of friends, insider, in the highest places. They are now saying, this will sound a bit tin hat, which we avoid conspiracies at all costs, but the word out now from knowledgeable, astute, informed people is, as you said, Bubba, that Obama will back Biden. They've gone so far now, some of them, to say he will then act as Biden's VP. My word, thus still in control.
Well, again, I would put nothing past what I consider the worst ever. I would put nothing past him. I still, again, there's a lot of things that, his initial plan, I called him a carny huckster then, and he has done nothing to disprove that all he is full of hot air and brings no value to anybody in the way that he governs and the way that he runs the business of the United States of America. Because let's not forget, we are a business. And no matter what you want to say, we need to function as a business and not as a country that's trying to build and change what our founding fathers fought for.
Thank you.
Our guys would be rolling over in their graves if they could see what was going on today.
Rhetorically, how the hell did we get a communist Islamist? What a trip. You hang out on Wall Street in New York a lot. What are you hearing now last week, Friday, from the real Wall Street crowd? What are those people saying to each other?
Well, they're scared. They're afraid of what's going on. I mean, but they're, look, traders, there's a bunch of different types of people out there, guys. There's independent traders like myself. Okay, I trade my own money, not anybody else's money. I trade my money. So I give you a straight up view, always based on what I'm saying. Now, I'm not always right and would never profess to say that my opinions and my actions are always correct. But I will tell you that from what I'm seeing, they are the right trade to make at that time. And the right investment, which goes back to, I talk about it often, but it really irritates me when I hear people lose all their money when they could have easily been hedged. In fact, I was on, during the crisis last week, Fox called me and wanted to do a TV interview on the phone because they knew I wasn't on the floor anymore. And I said, look, the bottom line is, I've been calling for this for quite a while on their station. And he said to me, well, what are you doing now with all your money? I said, well, first of all, I'm shorting the market, number one. But my long-term portfolio, which I told you all along, I said I was benefiting from the markets going higher because my long-term holdings are hedged and I don't have to worry about it. So when the market collapses, it's better for me because I'm always shorting in the short term into a market condition like this, just like when the markets were bottoming in 09 and 08, I was buying. Now I'm selling. I'm looking for places to make more money on the short side of the market. So true professional traders understand what's going on. Money matters continue to try to hide behind what's going on, and they continue to say, "Oh no, this is just a dip. We're going to bounce again, and we'll get a bounce. I know we'll get a bounce. I'm confident that there'll be a rally. Again, there's a lot of panic, and the only problem is when you get these long weekends, every weekend is going to be nerve-wracking for a while until something is resolved, because people will go home, and one of the things that companies do, as well as.
Well, it's great to have Bubba. Go check out his website, thebubbashow.org. I say again, thebubbashow.org. Great to always have him on. We're going to take a short break and talk about energy efficiency pros, EE pros, solutions that save you money. Are you a commercial business looking to reduce costs on your energy bill? Replacing traditional light bulbs with LED results in tremendous savings every month. Commercial, industrial, and manufacturing facilities from coast to coast are saving up to 90% on their skyrocketing costs of energy. Energy costs are rising every month, but using EE Pros lighting saves money, time, and brings you happier employees and customers. For a free audit and evaluation of your facility, contact or email Don Arrigo, president of EE Pros, at 480-585-9161, 480-585-9161. Tell Don that Backpack of Voices of Global Freedom Radio referred you. Yoda, have you had some experience with this?
I have. The good President Obama promises to this day that energy prices, threatens really, is going to skyrocket. They sure have. And EE Pros will consistently save medium, large size. Some small size businesses, 80 and 90% on their electric bill. My word.
Go visit eepros.com. I say again, eepros.com. We thank you. We also want to talk about impactanalytics.com. Our friend in Florida, Tim Kalin. Feel free to contact him and tell him Yoda and Backpack sent you. Impactanalytics.com. And what experiences have you had, Yoda?
Tim, I work with Tim in Beirut in the Lebanon with the Marine barracks bombing, and before that, the embassy bombing. He's the man. His website and a new website has something for all conservative patriots. Tim Kalin with Impact Analytics, Backpack.
Yeah, please go check out his new website called punchingbagpost.com. I say again, punchingbagpost.com. It's a consortium of the best conservative news from all around the world, and it keeps up with what's trending. It'll actually have an algorithm in the background that shows what's the greatest trending news in the conservative arena. We also want to talk about, as Backpack, we want to tell you about a brave American hero, the Magnified View Voices of Global Freedom Patriotic Hero Award. We are honored and privileged to work with Major General Paul E. Vallely, United States Army retired, exposes multiple Islamic jihadist terrorist threats to America's homeland, including the threats of the recent Iran, which is really no deal, but he brings to light to that. He was recently at the StopIranRally.org. I say again, StopIranRally.org. He graduated United States Military Academy at West Point and was commissioned in the Army in 1961, serving a distinguished career for 32 years. He is a military analyst on television and radio, and he's the chairman of Stand Up America, a network of patriotic Americans that collects, analyzes, and evaluates intelligence for the safety and security of America. Please have a look at standupamericaus.org. I say again, standupamericaus.org. We also have standupamericaus.org on magnifiedview.com as we are working closely with the good general.
What a guy. He's a soldier's general. There are all kinds of generals. There's 4,700 of them retired in the U.S. alone, Backpack, but he's one of an elite few.
Well, it's great to work with him, and please go check out Stand Up America US. Now we have the double barrel. We have a portion of our interview with Lieutenant Randy Sutton that we did this week. A great interview. We're going to play some of that for our audience, that he brought up some really important points that we should all be hearing, that we're not hearing on mainstream media, but we are hearing on Voices of Global Freedom Radio.
We do analyze news you can use in our magazine as well. Take a look for a minute at themagnifiedview.com and you'll see an article with Lieutenant Randy Sutton, fond friend of ours. And when seconds count, the police aren't going to be coming pretty soon because of the pressure on local coppers by President Obama and his mob. They are no longer proactive, as we discussed with Sheriff Arpaio. Their concern now is they well might be to be running around chasing bad guys. Hell, the copper will wind up in jail. So eager to get Lieutenant Randy Sutton on. He's our man, Backpack.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, it's not going to be the Crips, the Bloods, or the Muslim Brotherhood type gangs that are going to save us. It's going to be the street cops. And as Lieutenant Randy Sutton will point out here, they've been the ones who've actually stopped a lot of terrorists, including the Beltway sniper and many other terrorists that we wouldn't have been able to do without the street copper on the beat. So without further ado, we're going with Lieutenant Randy Sutton, catch up with how he's doing.
Go back, Pat.
From big city cops and small town cops, that face termination, that face suspensions for doing things that really they shouldn't be disciplined for, but because of optics, because of the way things look, their bosses are ready to throw them to the wolves. So they're under siege administratively. They're certainly under siege politically, both from the President of the United States on down. Their Department of Justice investigations have increased at a dramatic rate. They are, they're really going after cops, and the president ended the program or limited the program where protective gear and equipment, surplus military stuff, which was made readily available to police officers, police departments. He ended that program. So they're under siege physically, they're under siege politically, administratively, and they're shell shocked, man. They're just saying, hey, you know what? I'm not gonna stick my neck out anymore because nobody cares. Well, you know what? When cops believe that nobody cares about it, you have emotional turmoil. You have physical issues that take place. You have psychological issues that take place. Just keep in mind, cops are warriors. They enter police work in order to protect others. Well, if you take that ability away from them because of political expediency, because of public disdain, well, the frustration level is at an all-time high. And so depolicing takes place with cops saying, screw it, I'll answer my calls for service, but I'm not doing anything proactive.
Where do you see all this going?
That's a great question. Right now, I don't see this lifting anytime soon. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. We are still seeing a media that is really anti-police. The mainstream media clearly has an agenda when they seize on something that appears to be some type of misconduct or and whether it truly is or not doesn't even really enter into the equation, which is the scary part because we count on the media for the truth. Well, if they lie to you or if they color things because of an agenda, then even good citizens keep on hearing it over and over and over again. Well, that usurps the ability of the police to create good relationships, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So we're seeing no let-up in court decisions that are against the police. Now we're seeing prosecutors who gleefully grab headlines by prosecuting police officers for murder when they use their firearms. We're seeing a case count down south And in the dash cam video that is out there, you can see the suspect charging the police officer, running right towards him. You hear the officer saying, "Stop, stop, stop," and then the gunfire. So it is clearly, I forgot to say the best part. The first grand jury that they impaneled refused to indict him. So what they did, they got rid of that grand jury and brought in another one.
Wow.
So we have, I call it, we're eating our own. This police chief, who knows what his motivations are? Maybe they didn't want to go what Ferguson went through. So they were willing to take this cop and just throw him to the wolves.
Wow.
So when a cop believes that their own police agency couldn't care less about them and will not back them, this is a perfect recipe for depolicing and people leaving the field. I'm getting messages every single day saying, "Listen, I got 9 months and 2 days left." And these are people that would probably stay an extra 10 years on the job, but they can't wait to get out because of the political climate and the danger. Because the danger is not only physically, it's emotional.
Here's one, Lieutenant, a close friend of ours is a federal agent operating in the Midwest who is out with the local police all the time. The agent says they're having a hell of a time recruiting coppers now. In addition, those that can retire. In addition, in one-car departments, one-man, whatever department, they're waiting now in routine calls for the second unit.
Yes.
And they have absolutely abandoned proactive policing. I've got a Yoda anecdote for you that's like an anecdote. 2 friends of mine in the dark of night responded to a 415 disturbance in an apartment. When they arrived outside the apartment, they knocked on the door. Huge guy opens with a pocket knife. On went some dialogue or other. One of the officers drew a taser. The other one was standing there. The Yahoo attacked the officer with a knife. Officer number 2 took him down with a taser, arrested him. Oh, there was a couple apartment people standing on the landing that witnessed all this. Goes down to the DA. They refused to prosecute because the knife, pretty good sized pocket knife, was only 90% open. Do you love that one? Yeah. Anyway, there are 2 departments here we work with, San Diego suburbs, 150, 160 man departments, women departments. One of them was always high morale, good chiefs, good lieutenants, good sergeants. Oh, as you would know, you're doing whatever you're doing, and the sergeant rolls up, says, "You guys need any help?" No, he's out of there. The other department, sergeants micromanage it, morale sucks. All right. Back to the good department, with a good chief, strong leadership throughout captain, lieutenant, sergeant. They are now doing exactly what you said. They're afraid to go out on the street and do their job, even in a good department.
Yep.
Well, let's go personal. I was known as pretty aggressive. Good Sheriff Arpaio was really aggressive. Your reputation is aggressive, as you should be. You're saving people. Go back. What do you think you'd be doing now as a patrol officer? What difference would you do, if any? What do you think?
But I completely understand their thought processes, and I'm not sure that, quite honestly, I'm not sure that I wouldn't be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I'd like to be But you gotta look at all of the threats. It's basically risk management, if you will. Are you willing to risk your career, your family, your life, your mental health for a public that you perceive and a police department that you perceive doesn't give a damn about you? And the answer to that is not only no, but hell no.
Yeah. And you're going to roll up some scuzz who will be out the next day and fleeing to Mexico anyway. So yeah. I've done a bit of soul searching. I'm older than a rock, so it's hypothetical with me, or looking in the past, but I would have certainly tamed it down. Chasing the scuzz down the alley in the dark of night, I don't think so anymore. Well, it's a damn shame, isn't it?
Well, and police departments, they're so afraid of litigation, they're so afraid of making waves that they are creating they're creating more and more rules and regulations that govern the conduct of the police officers, to the point where they micromanage from policy. They don't even have to actually be out there now. They develop policies which basically emasculate their cops. And when you have a 2,000-page policy manual, well, it's pretty much impossible to know everything that's in there. And then they use those policies to end the careers or to control their people. And of course, that's the idea behind policy, is to control. Right. To control. But there's a lot of police agencies now that are taking the vehicle pursuit policy and enlarging it to encompass foot pursuits. So now you have a lot of these agencies, they don't even want you chasing anybody on foot because somebody might get hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, it's to the point where, are you kidding me? Why would you want to be a policeman in a place that really doesn't want you catching crooks?
Backpack and I were talking to Sheriff Arpaio a little while ago about you. Back in his and my day, you had a Smith & Wesson M&P 4-inch 38 special revolver. There was no Miranda. There were no policies. And we honestly didn't know the word liability. We didn't know it, honestly. So talking to the good sheriff, that's all you hear today. I do it.
Oh, yeah.
I do a lot of reading.
And we all knew that there are real cops and there are paper cops.
Yeah.
There's the guys that got their advanced degrees and they look great on paper and they take a test wonderfully, but they didn't do a lick of police work. They put in the bare minimum amount of time in the patrol car and then started going through the ranks. And they're the leaders, and unfortunately, when you get that type of leadership that are simply, test takers and paper cops, there's a certain animosity and jealousy that takes place when they see guys that are out there really hustling and doing the job the way it's supposed to be done. And there's a control thing that takes place, and they want to keep those guys down. And once again, it's like eating our young. You want to take a cop and you want to develop them into a warrior, into a philosopher that looks at the things that he does and reduces it down to, how can I make a difference? You want kindness, you want courtesy, you want compassion. And how do you develop that in a police officer? These are the things that we should be doing. him when he says, the chicken crap stop.
Yeah.
And but what I found was that the police in Ohio, they only have to go through a 600-hour police academy to get certified.
Wow.
And, every year, you know how many hours of training they have to have? 4 hours of advanced training a year.
Wow.
And over 2 years ago, a advisory panel from its own government said, this is crazy. We need to train these people, give these people training. And you know what happened? Nothing happened because they didn't want to spend the money. So here you have police officers with a minimal amount of training out there doing the job to the best of their abilities, and they're not being given the tools. They're not being given the training. They're not being given the equipment. And what are we doing? As soon as something happens, we throw them under the bus. We put them in prison. It's disgusting.
Are they not post-certified?
They are, but every state has its own officer standards and training commission, or they don't always call them post, but it's every state is autonomous when it comes down to what their requirements are for training, and theirs is 4 hours a year, which is absurd. Nobody can keep up a skill level that's worthwhile with 4 hours of training a year. Come on, and they pay them crap too. So we're asking guys, hey, we're going to pay you $40,000 a year. I want you to risk your life. I want you to work bad hours. I want you to be hated by every individual that you come across. We want you to prepare to be thrown under the bus because we really don't care about you either. And go out and do the job, okay? Good job, officer. There's really there's so many negatives that unless we as a country and a nation start respecting law enforcement and giving them the tools that are necessary to do the jobs the way we expect them to do, then we're setting ourselves up for failure. And I haven't heard one word from Obama or the Justice Department saying, hey, you know what? We recognize that there's an issue here, and we're going to help you with it. Instead, it's we're going to investigate you and then close down your department or send watchdogs in or do whatever. It's evil. That's the only word I can come up with. Really, it's like this terrible catch-22, and who's caught in the middle? The men and women who are literally every 58 hours dying in the streets.
Yeah. Taking a bit off what you said, we've worked closely with federal agencies forever. They are paper agents, some of them bar none. Some of them are heroes, of course, like your guys, but others, man, they make a career. They'll lock onto a career case. They'll turn a bicycle theft federally into the crime of the century.
Mm-hmm.
They'll stuff stuff in file cabinets forever. They never go out on the street. And they're studying for promotion. So pretty soon, as you said, these are feds. They will go up the ranks because they're the ones sitting in an office with their pretend case. We had one come out a little while ago. One came out of D.C. on a case. And no matter what we said, this agent said, well, that sounds dangerous. And we said, yeah, kind of. So finally, an incredible partner of mine said, what did you do before this? Well, the agent said, I wanted to go to work for Department of Commerce, but they didn't have any openings. So my partner again said, well, yeah, but what did you do before this? The agent worked at Disney World. No, that's true.
I understand what you're saying, and of course, I dealt with a lot of federal agents during my time. But I'll say this: I worked with some tremendous federal agents. My partner, I had a really great good fortune to be a supervisor of a federal task force. It was made up of Metro cops from Las Vegas and FBI agents, and it worked out especially well because even though it was out of our control, the supervisory special agent that was my counterpart was my old roommate.
Wow.
And he had been a policeman in Florida before he joined the FBI. So he was a real cop.
Yeah.
And he and I were very, very good friends. So there was none of the rivalry, none of the one-upsmanship, none of the head-butting that took place. Yeah. It was a team. And I got to tell you, I worked with some super agents. And I mean, I got in a gun battle with a suspect, and they were right there. They were as good a cop as anybody I've ever seen.
Yeah. We've got a lot of friends. Many were city cops. And I've seen it the other way. I've seen a lot of FBI that were city cops, and I've seen city cops that were FBI. What was the mission of your task force?
I'm sorry, say it again?
What was the mission of your task force?
We were assigned to work together to rid a gang-infested area of the top leadership of the worst of the worst. So we were given a budget, we were given equipment, we were given support, and the way we did it was we used the federal statutes to really put the bad guys away. Because as you know, when you get popped federally, it's a whole different world.
Yeah.
Can I give you a perfect example? My roommate, my former roommate, the FBI guy, and I go in to make an arrest of a guy who punched me harder than I'd ever been punched before in my life. Literally lifted me up off of my feet and dropped me onto the hood of the patrol car. And my buddy from the FBI tried to put him tried to choke him out, and he literally tossed him like a rag doll onto the police car right next to me. So the two of us were being handled by this monster.
Right.
And it took a lot of us to get him down. Well, okay, he punched me and he threw him. I charged him with battery on a police officer. He charged him with battery on a federal agent. He got a $100 fine for punching me, and he got a year in prison for tossing him.
Yeah, understood. I swear this is a matter of fact in court. I was thrown over the hood of a police car once. I was standing with this guy. I thought I was cool. And I went flying over the hood of the thing. There's some kind of message there somewhere. Is it wonderful to have our good buddy, the Lieutenant Randy Sutton, on, or what back there?
Voices of Global Freedom, MagnifyView.com, exclusive interview with Lieutenant Randy Sutton. Please go like his page, facebook.com/lt.randy.sutton. It's always great pleasure to have you on. I see one of your recent posts was about Black Lives Matter movement. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I actually just posted that about an hour ago, and it's already getting a couple thousand views. And I think that the people that are claiming that Black Lives Matter are
yeah, it's a good one. I'm trying to find it.
They really do care that Black Lives Matter, because if they did,
it's up on Magnify.
then they would be working with the police to solve the horrendous rate of black-on-black homicide, as opposed to the minuscule rate of police officers being involved in shootings. They are they're politically driven, they are agenda driven, and they're race driven. And I call on them if they really want to believe that Black Lives Matter, and join with the police to help the problem. Don't fight the police and try and build a movement that is nothing but negativity. And that's my stand on Black Lives Matter movement.
Our lineup.
We're going to go ahead and play. It's on magnifyview.com on the masthead. You can also catch this, but we want to take just a brief moment and talk about Lieutenant Randy Sutton. He challenges the Black Lives Matter movement. This one's gone viral and gotten hundreds of thousands of views. Please, everybody, go check out facebook.com/lt.randy.sutton and also check out magnifyview.com, our analysis of news you can use. We're going to go ahead and play what he has to say.
Views on the Black Lives Matter movement. I think it's a lie. I don't think the people that are involved in the Black Lives Matter movement really care about Black lives. Because if they did, they would stand with the police and not against the police. Because the reality is, the police of this nation are the only ones who are truly interested in protecting Black lives and the lives of every other race, religion, ethnicity, and sexual orientation. And it's the police who are fighting and dying as well, as they try and protect the very same people they're being accused of targeting. You see, this movement was born from the lies of Ferguson, the myth that the police are targeting and killing young Black men because of their inherent racism. And the poster child of this movement, Michael Brown, is still being hailed by this movement as the innocent teen gunned down by the racist police, despite all of the evidence to the contrary. And the irony here is the young Black men are being murdered at an astonishing rate, not by the police, but by other young Black men. In fact, young Black men are 6 times more likely to die from homicide than young white men. Thousands are being killed and injured in the streets of Chicago and Baltimore and Detroit and other American cities all across this country. But where is the outrage from the Black Lives Matter movement? It doesn't exist. And this is why. They really don't care. They care only about their own political agenda of spreading hate and racism and violence towards the police. They care only about the next headline that they can cajole from the all too eager and complicit media. In reality, they care only about themselves, and they bask in the narcissism that accompanies media attention. Well, I call upon the leaders of the Black Lives Matter movement to put aside the lies and politics, to have a meaningful dialogue about what kind of difference they can make by working with the law enforcement officers on the front lines to stem the flow of blood and violence that claims so many young lives. This is what you must do if you believe, just as the police truly do, that Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, please go check that out on magnifyview.com. There's a direct link there, and share it with all your friends and like it, and join Facebook with Lieutenant Randy Sutton. And we've got a great show here with Joe Arpaio, Sheriff, Maricopa County, 22 years, and now with Lieutenant Randy Sutton. We're going to continue on with the interview that we had with Lieutenant Randy Sutton.
It's absolutely incredible that 40% of incarcerations are 4% of the population. That's young Black males, 4% of the population, account for 40% of those in jails and prisons. They're killing each other by the thousands in all the major cities. Yet few people are talking about that. They're all talking about the odd cop shooting. So that's my view on Black Lives Matter. It's starting near the top of the White House. They're trying to start a race war backpack the way I see it.
Yeah, the reports we see is that George Soros, the multi-billionaire who actually caused the United Kingdom stock market to go down, that's how wealthy he is, that he could take on a country or in several other countries. But he is backing Obama 100%, and he's causing this chaos of Black Lives Matter. He's the money guy behind it. I heard recently there was it was in Ferguson or in Baltimore. Some people were paid by Soros to do some riots, and they got upset because he didn't pay him what he promised to pay him, and that caused another riot because they were upset at Soros.
You just can't get it. They're killing each other by the thousands. Chief of Police of Detroit, despite the mayor's good wishes, is urging people now to go get a pistol to defend themselves. Yet with all this going on by the bloody thousands, one copper in a legitimate clean shooting will be headlines for the next 3 days. They'll be trying to put him in jail. Difficult times, man.
All right, here's our conclusion with Lieutenant Randy Sutton.
And, the Clintons, they're in a whole world of their own. The Secret Service agents that were assigned to the Clintons, one or two of them wrote a book about working under different presidents, and they were highly critical of the attitudes and the way that they were treated by the Clintons and also by the Obamas, and they were highly respectful of the Bushes. They said that, I remember one time, Mrs. Bush, first Mrs. Bush, came out and gave blankets to some of the guys on a really cold night. And, you certainly wouldn't see that coming from the Clintons or from the Obamas. They hold law enforcement in disdain. So, but you know what? I don't care about that. I care about the way they lead the country. And I could forgive their elitism if I thought they really cared about this nation and about the law enforcement officers that are literally dying in the streets to protect their communities. But there's no respect. There's, probably the most insulting thing that I've ever seen in law enforcement is after Michael Brown was killed by Officer Darren Wilson, justifiably, the president sent emissaries from the White House to attend Doug's funeral.
Yeah.
Well, what he just did was spit in the face of every law enforcement officer in this nation.
Yeah.
And I can assure you that they have not forgotten that.
As you know, Backpack was what he described as a cubicle commando. He was a computer genius, gave all his stuff away, sold his stuff. He hit the road, learning journalism. He met closely from sea to shining sea with liberals. So he has an interesting perspective on the liberals he met back then.
Well, coming out with a book called Looking Glass Shattered, which is pretty much a rewrite, but it's liberalism is a mental illness, really. That's what it boils down to. That's the best way to say what it is. And it's actually been documented by psychiatrists to come out and say that. I've been researching that a lot lately. But it's an honor and privilege to have you on. What are some of the takeaways from the interview?
From the interview?
From us talking today, what are some of the takeaways for our highlights about our talk today?
Well, I hope that the views on Black Lives Matter, I hope that some insight into the mindset of the American law enforcement officer today, being disrespected, in great danger, both physically, emotionally, mentally. I think those are the most important takeaways. But, when you talk about liberalism, you may laugh at this or you may not, but I consider myself to be liberal. I always have. Constitution of the United States. I was willing to give my life for it, as police officers have throughout history. And those type of thought patterns, in my mind, I don't see them as conservative. I see them as just American.
Well said, Lieutenant.
Yeah, well said.
We're going to meet later in person this month. What's your celebrity appearance here in San Diego? Where are you appearing?
I will be on the Tommy Landry show on Point on the One American News Network. I'm one of her law enforcement commentators. She recently got quite a bit of attention when she did a rant basically about Obama's lack of respect for the military and the Marines after the assassination, a terrorist attack down south when the Marines and the Navy individual were murdered by the terrorists, and it went viral and got seen by millions and millions of people. And I reached out to her because I really liked what she had to say, and that has led to an excellent relationship that has developed to the point where I am now a commentator on her show.
We don't know anyone doing your job out there, so we are all in with you with all our might. MagnifiedView.com, a 180,000 published newsletter, our radio show, and Backpack's stunning job of putting it out. Maybe 1 million, I don't know, on social media. When we knock a Starbucks off its foundations, when you get out here in a couple of weeks, let's talk about Backpack. Let's talk about having the lieutenant come on regularly as a series.
Oh, definitely. It's always great to have Lieutenant Randy Sutton. What are some of the things that you need to promote, some books and websites?
Well, my books, A Cop's Life is a really hard-hitting series of stories from my career, beginning of my career and going to the end. They're powerful stories. In fact, one of the things I am most proud of with that book is that I have, over the years, been contacted by no less than 25 police officers who told me, and this isn't something that's easy to admit, that they were going to kill themselves. They were on the verge of suicide because they believed that they were alone in their feelings until they read my book.
Wow.
And for a writer and a cop, there's nothing that could make me prouder than to know that I played a role that was positive in that experience for them. So that book is available on Amazon.com. My latest book, The Power of Legacy, Personal Heroes of America's Most Inspiring People, is something that is really an inspiring read. There's some. What I did was I traveled the country, backpack. I think you could probably relate to that.
Yes, sir.
And I searched out some of the most amazing people in America, people that have given back in ways both great and small. For instance, Frank Shankwitz, who created some little organization known as the Make-A-Wish Foundation, who did that when he was an Arizona state trooper. He spent 40 years in law enforcement, 40 years, dedicated himself, and has touched the lives of millions of people around the world because he cared. And that is a shining example of what cops are. And a man like him who came from very humble beginnings and went on because of compassion and kindness to create one of the most incredible organizations in history. So sitting with people like him and with Gary Sinise, who have done unbelievable things for our veterans, and Bill O'Reilly, who has just been such
actually heard about me on this show and begin a dialogue, because I love to talk to the people that follow me, and I have some great conversations.
Well, you're one of the few doing it out there. We're all in with you. We look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks our way. Meanwhile, thanks once more for being half of the Double Barrel program we've got here with it.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks for having me on, guys. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
10 Gates.
Thank you so much. Be safe.
Yeah. Bye.
All right, what a great show with Lieutenant Randy Sutton. As we're closing out the show today, it's always great to have him on. We've had him on at least 4 times, and Sheriff Joe Arpaio, an incredible analysis of news you can use.
With all the bad news, with all our analysis of news that our fine audience can use, it's really refreshing, isn't it? It's an upper to talk to guys like this.
Yeah, it really is amazing. Our good friend Sheriff Joe Arpaio is 83 years old, and he's running again. And he'll be 83 to 86. It's another 4-year run that he's looking to win in 2016. So he's really doing some incredible things. Still working 7 days a week. Wow. I hope I'm doing that at 83.
I've been privileged all my life, Backpack, as you know, to be around the true heroes. Not the Mickey Mouse. They're going to do something someday. These guys do it day in and day out. Isn't it incredible? We're going to make it.
Well, we've been honored to have so many on the show, such as Brigadier General John Michelle, who's doing a lot, and our good friend Todd Bubba Horowitz, who we heard from today, who he's starting a school program. I think it's in several hundreds of schools now, teaching kids about finance, and he's not making a dime off that. And Lieutenant Randy Sutton, please go check out his Facebook, Lieutenant Randy Sutton website, and thepoweroflegacy.com is his latest book. So we want to thank you, the audience, thank you, Yoda, and thank Jana Rammer, Editor-in-Chief, MagnifiedView.com. Thank you all for another great show with Voices of Global Freedom Radio.
It's all good. See you through the week, Backpack, and see you on next week's show.
All right. Thank you so much.